Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are on episode 6 of Link Click, Search of the Child. I'm not gonna lie, I took about a week and a half off of Link Click because I watched ahead to watch episode 5, and then shortly thereafter I watched episode 5.5, and so I had a little time off. So I was like, I need a breather. So I took a little bit of a break from Link Click. It's been about a week and a half, but we didn't leave off on any cliffhangers, so that was good. And I got some other recording done, but I was like, I need to go back and watch. I want to get back into the show because episodes 3 through 5 were so good. Episodes 4 and 5, the twists and turns and the emotional roller coaster, I probably haven't wept like that in a long time. And so it was just like a catharsis, like a cleansing. It was like a cleansing, of a purging of emotions. And then episode 5.5, the OVA was so sweet and wholesome. And I'm like, okay, I'm cleansed, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to start back again and see what we're doing. So I'm pretty excited, y'all. I'm pretty excited to see what this episode has in store. When we last left off, old Zhao Li was the police officer that was coming to see them. And we just got done with episode 5, and Lu and Cheng were not on the best of terms. So I'm curious to see what all the Zhao Li wants them to do. On Discord, someone actually shared the preview for the Japanese dub of Link Click, and I did watch it, and I was like, I watched part of it, and then there was like a scene that seemed like it was in a later episode, and I stopped, and I was like, it might be spoilery, I'm not going to watch anymore. So I only watched about half of the actual trailer because I didn't want to get spoiled. But the voice actor for Haiji from Run with the Wind, which is one of my favorite sports anime, Run with the Wind, and Haiji is one of my favorite characters. And so his voice actor is playing Chang, and I was like, oh, that's so perfect. And the voice, I wasn't sure because I've gotten very used to the Chinese dub of this. And so going in, I was like, I don't know how I'll feel about the Japanese dub. And it's fine. You get used to the Chinese accent and dialect, and you're like, I don't. But the voice actor for Haiji he can be such an emotional voice actor and has such like a rich, compassionate quality to his voice that he's perfect for Chang. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And the voice actor that plays Lu is good. He's fine. But it's just, yeah. Yeah, I would watch the Japanese dub. I want to watch the Japanese dub for Link Click and Modao Sushi, but I haven't seen any links for Modao Sushi's Japanese dub that I can watch. So I'm like, because I heard that there's some really interesting, like Bokudo's voice actor is playing Wushin, so I'm like, oh, that'll be interesting. Or Hiyori's, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, but yeah, I haven't seen that yet. So it seems interesting enough, but I'm pretty excited to see what all is going to go down in this episode and see what we've got. Search of the Child. So maybe a missing child case. How's that going to work? I don't know, but we'll find out, won't we? So let's dive into episode 6 of Link Click. With this episode, we are halfway through the season, sadly. So I'm really sad about that because this series is awesome. But the good news is there's a season 2 coming out. So I'm like, yes. So with that being said, let's dive in, shall we? We're going to start this episode here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. You know. I think there's not going to be a bad cliffhanger. I'm like, okay, well, I was like, the end of this episode, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's going to like run into a dead end or something. And no, he runs right into her. So how are we getting out of this, Chang? How are we getting out of this? How are we getting out of this? Because she's like in a totally different section of town. She's like 3 years in the past. She knows him, but now it's changing shit, and God, Chang, this is why we can't have nice things. Man, this show knows how to build suspense and also make you just feel heartbroken. I was like, because yeah, oh man, going back to this episode, I like that we established that the beginning of this was not just our characters didn't just get over the shock of what happened in episode 5. It's still pretty fresh. And I like that there's the bubble tea, like the milk tea is kind of like the thread in this episode, because we start out with the milk tea here, and then she actually goes and gets Chang the milk tea. Well, Lu got Chang the milk tea, let's be real. Lu was trying to make amends, but he just, used her to give it to him. So yeah, the very beginning of this setting it up. Like, this show knows how to build such anxiety and tension. Like, it makes you, the opening scene where it just gets busier and busier is just anxiety inducing. It makes you just feel stressed. And I remember one summer when I was in high school volunteering at like a lemonade shake-up stand, and it was this same type of situation where people just kept coming up and they were coming. And you think that people would be nice when they go to these stands? No, they're rude. Like this guy, you can hear him talking, and when I remember there's a whole bunch of us making lemonade shake-ups, and I was the one taking the money. And I remember people were so rude. They were like, this doesn't have enough sugar. There's not enough ice in this shake-up. And it's like, what do you want from us? So I totally could relate to the woman that was having trouble at the register. I was like, I relate. And like the moment they just start getting more anxiety inducing, I'm like, oh, I know what that feels like. It's so stressful. And you're just hearing all these people complaining. And so I can't imagine, since it's her own business, it's like, of course she feels the added stress, because the dad establishes later on that they just opened up, and it's like, okay, gotcha. But yeah, just the idea of this bubble tea and everything. And this show knows perfectly how to like build tension and create this anxiety, but then like shut it down and have these quiet moments like with Lu and Ren. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, this poor kid, the strongest power of the star. And it's so sad because he like kept asking her all the questions about the show that he liked. And then once he goes missing, she like kind of like goes crazy and has an extreme mental breakdown and like starts asking those same questions he was asking her over and over again. Because, you know, she feels such guilt. She's like, I didn't spend time with my child. I sent him away because I was too busy with my shop, and I couldn't just take 5 minutes and answer those questions for him. And so she's like just had a mental breakdown and reverted to this state where she's just so guilt-ridden, and it's so tragic. And the dad, the husband, he's trying his best, and like even he has like a breakdown out there taking the posters down and putting the new ones up. Like they're just so destroyed by this. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So the question is him meeting her at the end of this episode like the node you can't cross? I feel like it's not, but I feel like it's gonna make things weird, right? And so yeah, and the little boy wants her to finish all the jobs, but wants the dad to finish the jobs, but they can't. One person can't run that stand by themselves. It's like, it's so sad. And I thought that was a woman that took him, not a man. It seemed like a woman that took him away, but I don't know. The problem is with these missing children cases, I don't know. I'm so conditioned in the U.S. that when you have a missing child case for that long, they usually aren't alive. They usually died. So I just get that horrible vibe. But maybe, I don't know, maybe since they were just walking off with him and it didn't seem as nefarious, maybe he is alive. You know, he's just older. But I don't know, right? You want to be hopeful and think, yeah, he's alive. And maybe this woman just abducted him to take care of him. That she just wanted a kid or something. Maybe that's it, you know? But I get the feeling the show is so dark and is not afraid to be dark that I'm like, I just don't know if they're going to find him or if it's going to be, if he's going to be dead. And the thing of it is, this is such a real life situation too, because I have friends that have kids, and I've seen parents do this so much where I work, where they have a kid with them and the kid's being like asking all these questions and they're trying to do a task. And so they just give the kid the phone. They're like, here, watch this, like distract yourself. And it's so current, but it's like, and then, yeah. And then it just shows the crowd of people and they're just working away at it. And then I love that the show keeps the sound going, but then you see the toy sitting on the table, and the moment you see the toy sitting on the table and he's not playing with it anymore, you know that he's been taken. And they do Star of Courage, Star of Justice, and Star of Wisdom. So Star of Courage, Justice, and Wisdom, you have the 3 stars there, and all I could think of is Lu, Cheng, and Lin. And so I think of her as the Star of Wisdom, and then he's that'd be Cheng would be the Star of Courage, and then Lu would be the Star of Justice, because Lu's like, we have certain rules we have to abide by. That all makes sense. It's so interesting, right? I think that's an interesting choice to have those 3 represented there. And then, yeah, the moment you see that toy on the table, and then you see the purple villain that takes it and said, your greed and lust will destroy you. And it's like, yeah. It's like, God. and the greed and lust tying to the restaurant, tying to them being so greedy with all the business. Because the people in the line were like, why couldn't they hire another worker to work there? And then the monster in the show says your greed and lust will be your undoing. And she told him to sit at the one table that was closest to the shop, that was right there where she could see him better, but there were already people sitting there because it was so busy. So he went and sat at the other table. It's like, Dao Dao is missing. Yeah, and they just, the blind spot was there and he just went away. Oh my gosh. Greed and lust will destroy your everything. Ooh, buddy. So then we tie back to the present time, and I like that they show that Lu and Cheng had to take a break from each other. I like they show that, and it's not anything malicious or mean-spirited. They're like, we're both tired. We just went through a lot. We just need to take a break. And Rin seems really appreciative. She's like, okay, well, we won't do anything. And then the police officer shows up, and they turn the police officer away. They turn Zhao Li away, but it's the dad coming in, and it's Lin's. It's her guilt is what really makes him take on this case, because she realized that she saw the kid walk away with someone else. And she recognized the kid because she saw the kid originally with his parents, but she didn't think anything of it and was like, I should have said something. And that's so heartbreaking, because we see people every day in those situations. Like, you see people walking with kids all the time, and she just happened to think in the back of her head that wasn't the kid's parents, but maybe it was like a relative or something. Like, that'd be so easy to think. And then when you find out later that it was not, and that kid was abducted, it's like, of course she'd feel guilty. Like, there should have been a sense that she should have done something. And she didn't. So Cheng is not only taking on this case to help the family, but to help her too. So add more stakes, right? Why not? So I wonder if him helping her will, in some regard, will change her mindset about the incident in the future. Will change her mindset. Maybe he can reassure her that it's not her fault and she shouldn't feel guilty. Maybe that's what's going to happen out of this. I don't know. They do show us in the episode how the future has changed because of what they've been doing with this power. So they show the guy from episode 1. They show the guy that was in the scandal. He's in prison, and there's these two bigger looking guys in prison, like cornering him up against the wall, probably about to do something to him, right? And then you see, so there's that incident where it's affected someone's life negatively. And then you see this incident where the two best friends got together and they're all together again looking happy. And so it affected their life for the better. And then you have, they conveniently skipped the son and the architect from episodes 3, 4, and 5. They conveniently skipped them because, well, they probably don't know that his life has changed for the better. They don't know that because he came in and developed the photos, but they don't know that he's married now and has a kid, whereas before he didn't. So there's that. But then they show the couple with the old school phone taking a photo together. Yeah. Y'all said in the comments that couple's like in their 50s. I'm like, this show made them look like they were in their 80s. So I was like, okay, sure. I just thought that animation was funny. But yeah, so I like that Cheng says, at first, I thought the task would seem easy. And I'm like, what part about time travel seemed easy? I'm joking, of course, but yeah, he's like, I thought this would be easy. I just follow Lu's instructions, and it seems like Cheng was more so convincing Lu to do this than Lu. Cheng was like, oh, it's fine. I'll just follow your instructions. Everything will be easy. Don't worry about it, man. And Lu looks like he's the hesitant one. Like, he has a sweat drop. He looks like he's the one that doesn't want to do it. And it's like, okay. All right. But yeah, it's crazy, right? And then Cheng figures out if we work together, it's a big deal. Paying off the debt is just around the corner. So he hires Lu to help him because they're trying to pay off the debt, or Cheng's trying to pay off the debt. And then it goes from, it all seems like it's going to be easy, to this was really traumatizing. I need to break. We'll just use the Photoshop business for now until I'm ready to go back into this. But they offer to do this mission for free for the dad because they've used up all their money with all these scams. They don't have any money left over the 3 years to hire another investigator or do anything. And it seems like the policeman Zhao is doing it out of kindness to the father, being like, I sympathize with you. I'm going to keep the case open to help you any way I can. Which is nice. But then it's nice, but it's also like, it's been 3 years. Like, it's just so, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see this father go back to home with his wife. It's hard to see him, like, and she's just completely, frail and helpless, and he's just trying to help out the best way he can. It's so sad. It's heartbreaking to see this family completely devastated by the loss of their son, and they only blame themselves. And it's horrible. So I love the milk tea scene. I love that Cheng has not changed. He says the harsh words to Dad, and it's so he's basically throwing the words in Lu's face, like, Lu, you said there's nothing we can do. We can't change the past. Let's not take this case on. We're just not going to do it. No, for these reasons. It's like, he's just saying it so that Lu can hear, right? It's just harsh for the father. And yeah, and he looks up on the screen all the missing people's cases and trying to get information about it. It's so heartbreaking. You see the father get scammed with the jade tortoise in the windowsill that they kept in the windowsill. Showing that they still have hope and faith that they'll find their son. I would like this story to have a happy ending, Link Click. I don't think you're going to give it to me. I think you're going to tear my soul out like you did the last 3 episodes. But maybe I'm wrong. All of y'all were like in episode 5.5, you're like, well, that was the happy one. I was like, no. So, I get my hopes up that maybe it's going to be good. It'll be all right. But I get vibes that this is not going to have a happy ending. No. But yeah. And then the mom, just reverts back to asking the questions to the TV and saying the same phrases and just acting like a child. Just reverting back to that because she's just mentally destroyed. So yeah. So anyway, I found it fascinating, the idea of how this is going to work, how they're going to go into the past, right? And I'm glad that they made up, that Lu and Cheng made up, and he's like, oh, thank you for the bubble tea, the milk tea. But yeah, so the idea is that there are blind spots. And so with Lu's ability, he can see the security periphery for a mile, a full kilometer, right? Which is interesting. But it seems like whoever abducted this boy, whoever abducted Dao Dao, they had scoped the area out enough to know the blind spots of the security camera. So technically, I find it interesting that Cheng himself is in the past. And that's why Lu's like, you got to keep a low profile because you're in the past here. It's not just somebody else. And it's like, oh, okay. I find that interesting. And then it seems like that Cheng can move around and follow wherever the cameras were and follow. He just can't see the full picture yet, right? But maybe can see where they ended up going to. I don't know. I'm very curious how they're going to, because obviously in this case, they want to change the past, right? They're trying to change the past. I'm curious to know 12 hours later what Lu found out, if it means anything, right? Does that change anything, what you found out, Lu? That's the question, right? That's what we don't know. And so I'm curious. I'm very curious. And then also wondering whatever Lu found out 12 hours from the start of this, and if he's intentionally not telling Cheng, if it's bad. And then also noting what can they do, like, because in the first case they deliberately changed the past and it killed someone. In the second case, they didn't really, in the second case with the friend, they didn't really change anything. They just found out, they actually solved that case outright. They just solved it and had a happy ending. And in the third case, they did try to change things, but the past couldn't be reversed, and so it didn't matter. So with this case, I'm like, what are they going to do? Are they just trying to give the parents closure, or can they actually solve this case, or what's going to happen? So I'm very curious to know how it's going to end up, what can be altered, if anything, right? That's the question. And so the boy's information, and of course, the Zhao Li ties back to the girl that died. That's the thing. Here's the other thing too, the police tying back into it. He has information on the Emma girl that died in that case. He has still information on her, and they're trying to figure out the murder of her. So if they tie in and stuff happens with this kid, and he figures out, because it seemed like Zhao almost thought that the photograph thing was like a scam too, and he was trying to tell the dad, he's like, nah, it's just rumors, don't believe the internet, whatever. But if he finds out this is actually a thing, that might be problematic, right? That might be problematic for our trio. So Very curious about that. Because he seemed to know that the file's missing. And I like that they're like, don't spread around this videotape. And of course, they spread around the video clip to everyone. Like, everybody in the group chat has it now. I wondered why Ren didn't want to show it to Cheng, but they end up talking and looking at it anyway. So yeah, I like also that Cheng thought he was going to become a security camera, and it's like, no. No, that's not how it's going to happen. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, and then of course at the very end, he's chasing after, it looks like a woman, chasing after the person taking the kid away, and runs into her. And then that music kicks in. Oh my God. So yeah, I'm curious. I don't think the story's going to have a happy ending. I don't know how it can. But I'm curious to know what all... I feel like this is not the node that's getting crossed meeting her. But I'm wondering how he's going to play it off. If he can. And then also what's going to end up happening. Because it seems like this video surveillance is their only link to the only photographic thing to get them into this moment. So I'm curious. But we're back, baby. Link click, we're back. You did it again. I keep thinking you're going to go away, and you just reeled me back in. I was like, episode 5, I'm like, I need a break. Episode 5.5, I'm like, that was pretty cute and wholesome. I'm fine. And then I get into this episode, and I'm like, dang it. I'm back into this show. But we're halfway through. I don't think they're going to solve this in the next episode, but I could be wrong. It could be another 3-parter. Could be. I don't know, though. This show... The one thing about it is you think something's going to happen, and as we've seen from the last 5 episodes, it can go a direction you don't even expect. So that has me excited, though. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of the episode, and I'm really excited to get into next week's episode and see what all is going to go down with this. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Link Click. Bye.